Black people in general, how we
Indeed.
view mental health, the stigma around getting help for mental health, um, how racism and everything we deal with in this country affects how we think and affect our mental health as well. So let's get it going, Shereen. The first thing I would want to say is it's important that we begin to unpack the importance of going to some type of psychiatrist or somebody that can actually help you out. I think when we look at like poverty and when we look at being in a community with a lack of resources,
Hmm.
all of these things can be tough on your mental health. You know what I mean? Of course, there's a I think there's like a clinical, and I don't know this for sure. I'm just saying my opinion. I
Hmm.
think in some people there's like a clinical imbalance inside of their body that makes them more depressed, more so than other people. These are
Yeah.
things I had to learn because I had like a tough life growing up. Like when I was
Right.
younger, my grandma died my dad died when I was 8. My grandma
Sorry.
died when I was 12. My mom died when I was 19. So all my adolescent years, my brothers was getting shot and going to jail and shit. So I
Right.
was struggling with what's going on in my life. Like it's so unbalanced to a degree. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
yeah, but I had to realize that and because of that, I was a little unfair. Like if somebody told me they was depressed, just on
Hmm.
some real shit, if
Yep.
somebody told me they was depressed, the first thing I'd say is you weak. Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't say it. I'd be thinking,
Exactly.
oh, this is just a weak motherfucker. You just ain't built for life. Like buck up. I could have
Right.
been depressed when I lost my mama. You know what I mean? But
Right.
that's not the case. Everybody's not as strong. I won't call people weak, but everybody ain't as strong as other people. You know what I mean? And sometimes
That's for sure.
there can be a chemical imbalance that puts you in a state of mind where everything you're upset about everything or nothing seems like it can go right for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So when you talk about like chemical imbalance, indeed, that's the whole thing about mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Different chemical imbalances in one's brain and the say the word for me.
Neurology.
Neurology. The basically in our brains and the way our brains work, there's a chemical imbalance that causes too much of this and too little of that, and too much
Mm-hmm.
of this and too little of that. And those are the things that create depression and anxiety and things of that nature. It's uncontrollable. It's something that somebody was born with. Now, in regards to your story, definitely, I've talked to you before, and you already know my heart goes out to you, and you know a little bit about my story.
Mm-hmm.
Father dying when I was 10, my mother when I was 30, things of that nature. So my mother was the one that took me under. In regards to what you were saying, though, excuse me, what it is I believe wholeheartedly that depression and different type of mental illness is also based on your situation.
So your
It's based on
environment.
your situation. So, like, what happened to you? Who wouldn't be sad or what they call depressed about that?
Mm-hmm.
Depressed. Let's just use the
Mm-hmm.
word, because Black people, we don't like, melanated people, we don't like to talk, use even the words, the verbiage. Who would not be depressed, confused, having anxiety, post-traumatic stress from the death so early of their mother and their
Mm-hmm.
grandmother, right?
Yep. Yep.
So basically that is like something natural. So not only are you going to have issues or problems dealing with the natural reaction, when we talk about losing someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so that's your situation. But let's say you also had the chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
So
I
I
see
do
what you're
believe
saying.
that there's two separate things, and then people can be dealing with the same. Both. They can have
Mm-hmm.
the chemical imbalance, and the situation could be messed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think about this? Right? Do
Hmm.
you think because right now it's really popular to mention you are depressed or speak of any mental illness. Like it's almost becoming taboo in our society. I like the fact that everybody's talking about it though, especially in our community, right? But
Yeah.
do you think because from my understanding, if you're depressed or if you feel like you're depressed, and I can be wrong, if you go to the doctor, I'm, can they clinically prove that you're depressed? To my understanding, they ask you questions and they get information from you. And
Right.
based on this information, they'll say, you know what? Based on what you just told me,
Uh
you're
huh.
probably depressed. And I'm thinking, and of course, I don't want to shit on anybody who's actually depressed, who's actually considered harming themselves or know somebody who's considered harming themselves.
Okay.
But do you think people sometimes use it as a way out? meaning I'm going through said things,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand that if I put this label over what's going on with me, the people around me will be more inept to be empathetic towards me. They'll be nicer to me. They'll lay off what I'm possibly supposed to be doing in my life. Like they'll give me a pass and allow me just to do whatever I've been doing because I'm telling them I'm depressed. You know what I mean?
Indeed. There's master manipulators.
Yeah.
There's people who manipulate. There
Mm-hmm.
indeed are people who are a certain way, but that all still comes down to mental illness. Because if you are a person that's really like a master manipulator, and you're a person that's using somebody, making them
Mm-hmm.
feel that way, your feelings aren't correct. You're not in line. You're not aligned. We talked about balanced. You're not balanced. So therefore, there's a mental illness there. Are you a narcissist? Are you a sociopath? In regards to mental health, I do not think that anybody will want to fake wanting to kill themselves.
That's
They,
true. Yeah.
they see, the thing is, it's just too much. It's too robust. I love that word. It's too robust to say, are some people faking it, or are people not?
Hmm.
When you look at the empirical data, the numbers tell the truth. So a lot of people don't believe in God, but do you believe in science?
Mm-hmm.
So if you just do the research, people, if you do the research, you will see that there are millions of Black women and men around the United States and abroad. So, well, let's talk about the United States, suffering from depression and some other mental illness. Let's talk about ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Umar, really quick, Dr. Umar Johnson talks a lot about ADHD and the over saying that people have it, the young Black boys.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We know that to be true. He's
Mm-hmm.
backing that up on empirical data.
Mm-hmm.
They are being young Black boys are being told that parents are being told that they have ADHD when they don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so in regards to the numbers, indeed, there's just a little test that you take.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they'll ask you, do you start something and you can't finish it? Do you have a bunch of ideas, and are you able to complete things? Do you get easily distracted? Based on science, they have to come up with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's ADHD. Is somebody with all those specs exactly an ADHD person? Maybe, maybe not. But ADHD is still real. So
And
it all it all depends on one's mindset. But I believe in mental illness, and I believe that people who suffer from it are really suffering from it.
mm-hmm. And I think
I can never think of
I'm
anybody wanting to be depressed and having anxiety,
right.
and I can't think of anybody that would fake that.
Right.
And if
Right.
they are, then they're a sociopath, which is another form of mental illness.
Right, right. And another thing, so because we're talking about mental health in the hood, mental health in our family. Everybody, if you're just tuning into the show, I'm
Yeah.
sitting with my sister Shireen Briggs from Power Moves Presents. We're talking about mental health. We're going to talk about relationships here in a minute. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube channel if you ain't did it yet. You know what I mean? Now, I think as Black folks, we can cut out, like, you're right. If someone's born with deficiencies in their brain and their body, ain't shit we can do about that, right? But try to
Right,
be there and support them and help them out. However, I think as Black parents, we contribute to this a lot just by how we have children. Like, to me, raising a young person in a resource in an environment with no resources, in an environment where there's no father, in an environment where a lot of negative shit is going on outside. Like, to
right,
me, anybody gonna end up crazy in this situation. You know what I mean?
right.
So sometimes as Black folks, I think one of the ways we can try, because again, this can be a clinical thing that we can do nothing about, but one of the things that we can try is raising our families the right way. One of the things we can try is being aware of the situations we put our kids in. If you a kid, I remember I wasn't like this, thank God, but I remember young dudes who would come to my house and eat because I would go to their refrigerator in Shireen. There would literally be nothing but baking soda and old ass milk in their refrigerator. They clothes stinking, they house all dirty, they mama down the street doing whatever the fuck. Now, to me, Who won't be crazy in this situation? Who is not going to suffer mentally and feel
Right.
depressed and feel all these things? So to me, sometimes this shit can be preventable if we just try harder when it comes to our parenting. Now, of course, again, clinically, you can't stop some of this, but I think we can mitigate it, because even when you're in a position where you have more resources, i.e., money, transportation, all these things,
Exactly.
insurance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's the
Insurance,
key.
you're a little more
Insurance.